side I've got two Wilson case trimmer. I've mounted two on a plate because sometimes I use them to bevel. So as you see it now, it's got the power tool attachment for the cutter, and it's got the beveler for chamfering the case mount. The rest is all my equipment, bullets, and stuff like that. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is show you how to set up your sizing die and how to prep your cases. Here I've got some 22-250 that I reload for a buddy of mine. They're all set up, ready to be lubed. So I use the Lyman stuff or any spray on, and you just go ahead and spray the cases. Make sure that they've got it all over, and make sure that you get some inside the next. It really helps when you're reloading the rounds. It makes them easier to pull out. That's a die. It hasn't been set up for this gun on this press yet, so you've got the locking nut fairly loose. What you do is you put the proper shell plate in there, put the ram up, and you just screw your die until it contacts the ram. Then you back off about half a turn or maybe a quarter of a turn. Bring the ram back up. To measure for headspace, that's a tool I use. It's from Hornady, and it's a tool that will go directly on your caliper. If you look at the chart here, it says 22-250. I need number 330. So I set in the proper insert. Then I'll put it on my caliper. Tight it in. Then I go and grab one of the cases that I know has been fired in the rifle, and I just wipe the neck and the shoulder area. Then I take my caliper, put it in, make sure that it's lying flat. What I do is I rotate it until the number stops turning, and I'm just putting a little bit of pressure. Then I go and zero it there. Okay. So that's my benchmark. Now I take the case and I resize it. Pull it out and I measure. So I'm still at zero, which means that I've resized most of it, but I haven't moved this shoulder here where your headspace is taken in the rifle. I haven't moved that back. So what I'll do, I'll put it back in there and I'll screw in the die. And here you're going in really small increment. You're going like maybe a tenth of a turn, and then you try again. At this point, your locking ring is just touching, just to make sure it's solid in place. Go back in with the same case, and I check again. I'm still running at zero. Go back in, make sure there's still lube on the case. Move your die a little more. Run it in. Still running at zero. When you've done it like 5 or 6 times, put that case aside, grab a new one, wipe the lube off, remeasure, make sure it indicates at 0. If it doesn't, re-zero, and then go with that new case. still at 0, so I'll keep moving. -1. Since this is a hunting rifle, I'm basically looking for -2 from what the fired rifle was. Actually, on this one, I'll go -3 because he doesn't really clean his guns that often. -1.5. So you could see it's getting stiff to bring back. That's because it's running out of lube. So I'll just put some more lube on those two and redo them when I've got a die set up. So I'll just grab another one. -3. Grab another one. -2.5. -2.5. So basically the die is now set up for the headspace of 2.5. So what you have to do now is bring the locking ring all the way on the press and then lock that thing in place. They have different rings, different types of locking mechanism. This one is a little screw that you just tighten on. Now this die should be set up. Once I've tightened it, I try removing the die. Sometimes it won't come. You should get a proper set of pliers. I don't have one, but I'm very careful. There you go. So once I remove it, I make sure that the locking ring is really properly in place. And now this die is set up for the headspace on my friend's rifle. Probably would work on any Remington factory rifle. So once this is done, I'll go back and get those two cases I played with just to make sure that they're all even with the rest of them. And I'll run all my batch through. Always make sure you remove the lubricant from the neck and shoulder area. So once you've resized all your cases, the next step is to get them clean. I notice you're getting ultrasonic cleaner. I use the old Vibrasonic one with corn media in them. I just like to have my my shells really shiny, and I do have a ultrasonic cleaner at the shop. When they get really dirty inside, I'll take them out there and I'll put them in the ultrasonic just to clean out the inside. So I'll put them in there for 2, 3, 4 hours depending on how dirty they are, and then they come out squeaky clean. So we're going to switch calibers because I don't have any 22-250s that are clean, but I do have some 270 WSMs. So this is what I mean by I like my shells shiny. So that's how they come out of the tumbler. Now before you reload, there's still a few more steps you need to do. This is called a unicizer. It's the tool that you can get from Sinclair. If you're doing shells that you're reloading for the first time and that you haven't worked on, you'll use this in the power drill. And you just put it in the primer hole and you drive it until it stops cutting. You'll feel it. It can't go too deep. You just go until it's not cutting anymore. Throw away the stuff, and now you have a nice even bottom of your primer pocket. Every time you're going to reload, the primer pocket's going to get dirty. Once you've done all the cases with the drill the first time, all the depth is going to be even. So when you need to clean a dirty pocket, all you need to do is just use your fingers and do one rotation, and your primer pocket will come out squeaky clean. That's all you have to do. The first time you do your shells, you have to use the drill, but after that, all it is a little twist of the fingers, and it'll clean your primer pockets squeaky clean. The other step you have to do only once when you're prepping your case for the first time is flaring the flash hole, and for that you use this little tool. The flash hole is this little hole you see here, but you go in from inside and give it a bevel. This tool is also from Sinclair. You used a second generation one. It works much better than the older one. When I'm doing big batches of cases, I'll set it up in the drill. It just goes faster than doing it by hand, and it cuts a bit better. You can't go too deep. It's got to stop so you all get even pressure. All you have to do is set that little stop here so that it just barely enters the case mouth. After that, the next step is trimming to length. Okay. Here's the Wilson power trimmer. I'll just attach the drill. So this is the setup. What's good about the Wilson is it works with inserts. So it holds your cartridge from the body, which is a bit stronger than holding it just from the tail end like the more commercial version. Okay. Insert, cartridge goes in there. What sets the cut depth on these is the back screw. Now mine don't have the micrometer adjustment. Just an expense I never went through, and I don't necessarily. I've been able to get along without it. So, but if you like gadget, it is cool to have your micrometer straight on. So what I do is I'll measure the case, a fired case from my rifle. Set to 0. So my length is 2.094. In my notes, I'll have it that for my 270 I trimmed to 2.090. So actually I have to trim 4 thousandths off this case. So what I'll do is I'll set the case in and I'll push the drill until this bottoms against the stop. Then I'll screw case forward until it touches the cutter. And then for 4,000, I'll just move it a tiny little bit, maybe a 15th of a turn, and I'll just tighten it just lightly. Then I'll run the drill and hold this thing solidly, and I'll start trimming my case. Next I'll measure 2.088, 2,000 shorter than what I was aiming for, which is less the thickness of a piece of paper, which means it'll stay there. I'm not extremely anal about this. So now it's set for all the cases. I'll start with this one, make sure that it's completely done, and then I use one of these, a chamfer tool, to do the outside, just to make sure there's no edge or no burr that can catch on. And then I'll do the inside. Barely see the small bevel that I put in there. Doesn't really need all that much. That's why I prefer to do with the hand tool. I've tried doing it with my with the second tool, and I don't get as good and even results. So these are the primer pocket and necks from the 22 to 50 we just resized. You can see that the bottom of those primer pockets are really full of carbon, and that the necks are all uneven and cruddy. And here are the necks and the primer pockets from the ones we just prepped. I don't really have the means to cut a case to show you what the inside of the flash hole deburring would do, but just take my word for it, it works. So here's a bunch of cases ready to be primed and reloaded, and I guess we'll end the lesson with this one.